L. L stands for let's translate statement of variation into symbols. Second, I. Its constant of variation should be sought. So that's the time now that we are going to solve for the constant of variation or yung K. Then third, a pleasant day to all of you, my dear students. It's pleasant. It's because even if uh, uh, good weather or bad weather meron tayo, still we have to treat that day as pleasant as always. So pleasant, it's also because you are going to learn again something new about math. So we are now on lesson number 5. So we are going to end this time our lesson about variation. So we will end it in discussing lesson number 5, which is about applications on variation. So what is it that we are going to learn here? So here we are going to apply now the way on how we solve the different kinds of variation that we have discussed. So we know already on how to solve them. So this time we are going to come up with problems in math or verbal problems in math which involves variation. So these are now about real life situations wherein it already involves variation. So those kinds of problems are the one we are going to solve in this topic. So to start with, so as I was saying, so application or in applications on variations na discussion natin is about applying the lesson about variation into real life situations, just like what I mentioned to you earlier. So one thing that will help us in order for us to uh, answer problems which involves variation, so is to recall the different kinds of variation that we have discussed. So ano-ano ba yung different kinds of variation na yun? So those kinds of variation that we have discussed, these are namely, una, direct variation. So under direct variation, sinabay na natin siya na i-discuss yung tinatawag nating direct square variation. Then after discussing it, we come up with inverse variation. And third, we do have the joint variation. And the last is about combined variation. So nung diniscuss natin yung different kinds of variation na yon, if you are going to notice, we only apply there one steps. We only apply there same steps. So from direct variation up to combined variation, same steps lang in-apply natin. And that steps that we have applied in solving for those kinds of variation are also the same steps that we are going to use in order for us to solve uh, these problems that we are going to encounter today, which are problems in real life na na i-apply pa rin natin yung steps natin na tinatawag nating life. So ano nga ba? Ano nga ba yung life na yan? Diba sabi nga natin noon, every time we are solving variation, uh, yung word na life is always there. So it tells us or reminding us that we should always take good care of our life. Because sabi natin, iisa lang yung buhay natin. We'll never know what will happen the next day or the other day. So we have to take good care of our life. So kailangan iingatan natin siya palagi. So we have to as much as possible uh, pangalagaan natin yung buhay natin. So stay healthy, lalo na sa panahon ngayon, di ba may nasa pandemic tayo, hindi pa rin tatapos. Pero pasasaan ba at malalagpasan din natin lahat ng pagsubok na dumadating sa buhay natin. So ang kailangan mong gawin ngayon, pangalagaan mo yung sarili mo, you have to stay healthy so that lahat ng problemang dumarating man sa buhay natin ngayon, malalagpasan natin yan and will uh, uh, succeed, will will start on or will continue uh, in achieving our dreams in life or your dreams in life. So ano nga ba ulit yung life na yan as our steps in solving any kind of variation? Yung una, L. L stands for let's translate statement of variation into symbols. Second, I. Its constant of variation should be sought. So that's the time now that we are going to solve for the constant of variation or yung K. Then third, F stands for form the equation of variation. So once you already have the value of K, that's the time now that you are going to form the equation of variation. Then on the third, once you form that equation of variation, that is to be used on the fourth steps. And E stands for equation form is to be used for us to find for the unknown. So, magkakasunod yun. Unang step, translating. So, we have to translate it in both ways so that yung pangalawang matatranslate natin to be used in the second step. Yung unang na-translate natin is to be used on the third step. Then, yung mapuform natin on the third step, gagamitin naman yun on the fourth step for you to find the unknown in the problem. So, even though we are already in solving real life problems in math which involves variation, but since it's still about variation, so we are still going to apply that same steps that we call life. Kasi sinabi natin before, kapag ang topic natin is about problem solving or verbal problems in math, ang i-apply natin is yung steps natin na tinatawag natin respect. So pwede rin naman natin i-apply yon. So we can still apply that if you want to. But as for me, so I guess mas madali if we are going to apply uh, mas madali if we are going to apply the steps that we call life. So now, so let us answer examples involving real life problems about variation. So let's have example number 1. So let me read first the problem. So if the number of kilograms of rice represented by small letter R varies directly as the number of days represented by small letter D, and 51 kilograms of rice can feed a family for 45 days. So how many kilograms of rice are needed to feed the same family for 60 days? So in this problem, we are asking for the number of kilograms of rice needed for you to feed the same family for 60 days. That family that we are mentioning in the problem. So this is a problem involving particularly direct variation because of the statement na the number of kilograms of rice represented by R varies directly as the number of days D. So kilograms of rice varies directly to the number of days. Number of kilograms rather varies directly to the number of days. So pwede natin siyang paikliin para mas malaman ninyo kung ano yung statement of variation. So kaya nga tayo may representation dyan of R and D. So pwede natin sabihin na R varies directly as D. Then that 51 kilograms of rice and 45 days, that is to be used in order for us to find for the value of K. So in order for us to come up with a solution to that example number 1, so applying the first step, sabi natin, we are going to translate the statement of variation. So doon pa lang kanina sinabi natin na pwede natin paikliin yung statement of variation natin. So since yung number of kilograms of rice represented by small letter R siya and the number of days represented by D, and the problem is about direct variation, so we can say that the statement of variation is R varies directly as D. So that statement of variation with the application of step number 1, we are going to translate that into symbols. So if we're going to translate it the same way as we read it, so R varies directly as D, we come up with the first translation as R is equal to KD. Now, the other translation is its translation in terms of case. Sinabi that since it's about direct, so according to the definition of direct variation, its constant of variation is the ratio of the two quantities. So the first quantity being mentioned is on the numerator, while the second quantity is on the denominator part. So that will come up with another translation, which is in terms of K, as K is equal to R over D. Now, using the second step, and applying the second step rather, and using the second form equation na K is equal to R over D. So let us find out now for the value of K. Sinabi natin kanina, yung unang complete value na may kita natin doon sa problem, yun yung gagamitin natin for us to find out for K. Ano ba yung nandoon? So yung R represented by the number of kilograms of rice is 51. And D stands for the number of days. That complete value na nakita natin in the problem, that is to be used for us to find out for the value of K. R is 51 while D is 45. All we have to do is to substitute it to that given equation. So we will come up with 51 over 45. 51 is not exactly divisible by 45. So even though it's like that, but still, let's find out if we can still reduce it into lowest term. Kung meron bang common factors between 51 and 45. So if we are going to reduce it into lowest term, we come up with an answer which is 17 over 15. Because both 51 and 45 are divisible by 3. That 3 that we used, yun tinatawag nilang natin na GCF. So 51 divided by 3, that would be 17. And 45 divided by 3 is equal to 15. So that K, which is equal to 17 over 15, yun yung tinatawag natin as the constant of variation. Then since we already have the constant of variation, and with the application of step number 3, so we are now going to substitute that 17 over 15 to what is R is equal to KD. That is that first form, that first equation that we translated. So yung first translation of this statement of variation. So gagamitin na siya natin ngayon for us to find out for the equation of variation. All you have to do is to substitute that 17 over 15 in place of K. So that will come up with R, which is equal to 17D over 15. So may nagugulang ba kung bakit naging 17D over 15? Because D here is uh, a numerator, because that will be the same as KD over 1. So 1 is the denominator. Ibig sabihin, kung numerator siya, so katabi niya yung 17 na numerator also. Then yung 15, which is a denominator, is on the denominator part also. That's why you come up with R is equal to 17D over 15. Then since we do have a new form equation, which is what we call as the equation of variation, so we are now going to apply the last step. So using that new form equation, so we are now going to find out what is unknown in the problem. So we are here now going to answer what is asked in the problem. Ano ba tinatanong? Sabi doon, find R. What is that R again? R is the number of kilograms of rice. So find R when D is equal to 60. D is the number of days, given yung number of days niya. So how many kilograms of rice are needed to feed the same family for 60 days? So that means we are looking for R. So with the use of this given equation here, so let us find out for the value of R. So simply by substituting the value of D, so that will come up with R, which is equal to 17 times 60, ayun yung D natin, over 15. So to simplify it, pwede hindi natin i-direct multiply to. We can make use of cancellation. So we can cancel 60 and 15 here, because 60 is exactly divisible by 15. So 60 divided by 15 is 4. So 4 will be left here and 1 on the denominator part. So magiging lalabas na lang ay 17 times 4. And what is 17 times 4? So 17 times 4 is equal to 68. So since these are verbal problems in math, so usually meron siyang unit of measurement involved. So since we are looking for the number of kilograms of rice, so dapat yung answer natin is in terms of kilograms. So ang nakuha natin value of R is 68. So the answer to the problem is 68 kilograms. So that means it needs 68 kilograms of rice to feed that same family for 60 days. So that's how we answer example number 1. So I hope naintindihan on how we solve example number 1. So para mas maintindihan pa natin lalo, let's try another example. Let's this time try example number 2. So let me read first the problem. So sabi dito, the force of attraction represented by small letter f between two opposite electrical charges varies inversely as the square of the distance d between them. So this time this problem is about inverse variation. So if the force of attraction, that's F, is 18 when the distance is 10, so that's D. So find the force of attraction when the distance is 15. So just like what we did on example number 1, so let's find out first yung tinatawag nating statement of variation. So ang statement of variation natin dito, the force of attraction F between two opposite electrical charges varies inversely as the square of the distance D. So pwede na siyang paikliin as F, kaya nga tayo may F and D dyan, as F varies inversely as the square of D. So gagamitin na natin yun now. So to come up with a solution to example number 2, so applying the first step, so we'll just make use of the statement of variation na pinakli natin. That is, F varies inversely as the square of T. So yan ngayon, i-translate natin into symbols. So we are on inverse variation. So what we are going to do is to translate it on how are we going to translate inverse variation. So still, we should come up also with two translations. So yung una, translating it using translation of inverse variation. So F varies inversely as the square of T. So the first translation will be F is equal to K over D square. So take note, wala tayong tinatawag na inverse square variation. Ang meron lang direct square variation. But still, it does not necessarily mean na hindi natin pwedeng gamitin yung square in other kinds of variation. So just like, for example, number 2, the given is about inverse variation or the problem is about inverse variation, but we made use of the word square also. So that's F is equal to K over D squared. Then, according to inverse variation, in order for us to find out for the constant of variation, so all we have to do is to find the product of the two quantities. So if we're going to find the product of the two quantities for us to find out for the k, we come up with the second translation as k is equal to d squared f. So and again, let us not forget na when we are pertaining to the product of the two quantities, dapat pasinulat natin siya kung ano pa rin dapat yung mauuna in the English alphabet. Siya pa rin yung mauuna when we write it, when we write the equation for finding k. So since D comes first to F in the alphabet, so D squared yung mauuna than F. So, ganun dapat yung way of writing our equation, particularly if we do have, if it involves product of the two quantities. So, that's the two translations we have. Then, on the second step, we are now going to make use of the second form equation, which is the equation for finding K. So, we are going to make use of that to find for the value of K with the help also of a complete value in the problem. Ano ba nasa problem? So, ang sabi doon, may given tayo, the force of attraction is 18 when the distance is 10. Again, the force of attraction is 18 when the distance is 10. So, that complete value in the problem, gagamitin natin for us to find out for K. So, let's simply substitute it. So, we come up with K is equal to D is 10. So, that would be 10 squared times F, which is 18. So, that would be 10 squared times 18. And 10 squared is 10 times 10, which is equal to 100. If this is 100 times 18, we'll come up with 1,800. So the value of K there is equal to 1,800. So since we already come up with the value of K, so let's apply now the third step. So in the third step, that value of K, which is 100,800, let's substitute that to the first form equation na F is equal to K over D squared. So if we're going to do that, it will be as this. So that would be F is equal to 1,800 over D squared. Then, for the last step, so since we already formed a new equation, which is the tinatawag natin equation of variation. So let us make use of it already in order for us to find that for the unknown in the problem. So ano ba hinahanap natin in the problem? Ang sabi doon, find F. What is that F that we are pertaining to? Yun yung force of attraction. So find force of attraction when the distance is 15. So F is what we are looking for. So it was already equated into F. All we have to do is to substitute na lang 15 in place of D. So we'll come up there with F which is equal to 1,800 over 225. Bakit naging 225? Kasi when we substituted 15 in place of D, magiging 15 squared yon. And 15 times 15, that will be equal to 225. Then, simplify natin 1,800 over 225. And it so happened that 1,800 is exactly divisible by 225. So if we are going to divide it, we come up with an answer which is equal to 8. So therefore, it needs 8 force of attraction when the distance is 15. So may force of attraction na 8 when the distance is 15. So 8 lang ang pinaka-final answer natin because in the given problem, wala namang unit of measurement na binigay to sa force of attraction. So that's why when we come up with an answer, wala rin dapat tayong unit of measurement because wala namang binigay na unit of measurement in the problem. But if we do have, dapat sa final answer natin, since we are answering verbal problems in math here, dapat meron tayong unit of measurement kapag meron. So that's how we answer example number 2. So let's try another example para mas maintindihan pa natin ng mas mabuti. So let's have the third example here. So again, let me read the problem number 3. So the number of days represented by D required to construct a boat varies directly as the number of boats represented by B to be built and inversely as the number of people represented by P doing the job. So, analyzing the problem, alam mo agad that you are pertaining to combined variation. Bakit combined? Kasi binanggit natin yung dalawang kinds of variation dito. Yung direct variation, eto yon, and the inverse variation. So sabi pa sa problem, if 8 people require 12 days to build 16 boats, how many days will it take 15 people to build 50 boats? So what we are looking for in the problem is the number of days will it take 15 people to build 50 boats. So this complete value of number of people in term on and the number of days with the number of boats. So that is to be used in order for us to find for the value of K. And again, katulad ng sinabi natin, pwede natin paikliin yung statement of variation natin by using this representation of those involved quantities involved in the problem. So D for the number of days, B for the number of boats, then P for the number of people. So it will be the same as D varies directly as B and inversely as P. So let us solve now that problem number 3. So applying the first step, so let us translate the statement of variation. So pinagdino natin siya kanina. Ang statement of variation natin is D varies directly as B and inversely as P. So that problem or that statement of variation is about combined variation. So paano ba ulit tayo nag-translate ng combined variation? So since we already know on how to translate direct and inverse variation, i-apply na lang natin siya here. So when we translate that into the first translation, we'll come up with D is equal to KB over P. So D, ito yon equal to directly, that's K, B, then inversely as P. Kapag inverse, iba na sa denominator part na. Then for us to find out for the equation for finding K, so ito naman yon, multiply natin to, yung nasa left side, sa nasa denominator. That will now be the numerator. Then kung ano yung kasama ng K, that is the denominator. So that will come up with another translation as K is equal to dP over B. Then, applying the second step and using the second form equation na K is equal to dP over B, let's find out now for the constant of variation or the value of K. Ano ulit yung sabi sa problem? Sabi doon, if 8 people can build 16 volts in 12 days, so, yun yung ano natin, 8 people, 12 days, and 16 volts. So, isa-substitute lang natin yung mga given yan to this equation in finding K. So, we'll come up with K is equal to 12, the number of days. P is 8 over 16 as the value of B. So, we can apply here yung cancellation. We can cancel 8 and 16 here. So, that matitira dito sa baba ay 2. And 12 is exactly divisible by 2. So, matitira ay 6. But also, we can apply direct multiplication of it. So, pag multiply natin yan, that would be 12 times 8. So, mga kalabasan ay 96. Then, divide by 16. That would also be the same as 6. Pero mas mabilis if we're going to apply cancellation. So, katulad ng ginawa natin, 8 cancel, and 16, matitira dito sa 16 ay 2. 1 na lang doon. And 12 is also exactly divisible by 2. So 12 divided by 2 na lang, we'll come up with the value of K, which is 6. Then since we already have the value of K, so let's apply now step number 3. So we are now here going to form equation of variation by substituting 6, that value of K, to the first form equation na D is equal to KB over P. Then from there, so we come up with D is equal to 6B over P. Ito yung K natin. So since we already know the value of K, dun pa lang natin malalaman kung yung tinatawag natin equation of variation of the problem. So then, since we already have the new form equation, that new form equation is to be used for us to find out what is unknown in the problem. Ano ba ulit hinahanap natin sa problem? Ang hinahanap doon, find B when P is equal to 15 and B is equal to 50. Ano ibig sabihin? How many days will it take 15 people to build 50 boats? How many days is what we are looking for? So it was already equated into D. All you have to do is to substitute na lang 15 in place of P, then 50 in place of B. So we'll come up with D is equal to 6 times 50 over 15. And again, we can apply cancellation here. Una, we can apply cancellation on 6 and 15. Both of them are divisible by 3. O divide natin 6 by 3, that will be 2. 15 by 3, that will be 5. Kung 5 to, it's exactly divisible now by 50. 50 divided by 5 is 10. Eh, may 2 pa na iwan dito. So, 2 times 10, we come up with 20. So, the value of D is 20. So, since we are looking for the number of days, so the answer will be 20 days. So, that means it will take 20 days for 15 people to build 50 boats. So, that's how we answer example number 3. So, any question? So, let's try one more example. Let's have example number 4. So, let me read again problem number 4. The problem number 4, the area of triangle represented by capital letter A varies jointly as the base B and height H. A triangle with base of 8 centimeters and a height of 9 centimeters has an area of 36 square centimeters. So find the area when the base is 10 centimeters and the height is 7 centimeters. So we are here as what is asked in the problem is the area of a triangle whose base is 10 centimeters and height is 7 centimeters. And this complete value here, the 8 centimeters of height and 9 centimeters of 8 centimeters of base and 9 centimeters of height and an area of 36 is to be used for us to find for the value of K. And again, since we do have a representation of the quantities involved in the problem, so pwede natin gamitin yon para mas mataikli natin yung statement of variation na gagamitin natin. So it can be A varies jointly as B and H. So, by the way, this problem is about joint variation. So, let's start solving for that problem. So, the solution to example number 4, una, applying the first step. So, let us first translate statement of variation into symbol. So, the statement of variation that we formed there is A varies jointly as B and H. Take note, kung ano yung quantity involved in the problem, if it's capital letter, it should be capital letter din gagamitin natin. So, ganun din, when we translate it into symbols, dapat kung capital din yung lalabas sa translation. Kung small letters naman yun, small letters din dapat. So, be mindful of that. Kailangan alam natin yun. So, A varies jointly as B and H. Paano ba na-translate yung joint variation? Yung joint variation, para lang tayo nag-translate dyan ng direct variation. Ang kaibahan nga lang niya is that it involves more than two quantities, specifically three quantities. So, translate natin yan just like how we translate direct variation. So, unang translation will be A is equal to KBH. Di ba pag direct, ganito lang, hanggang KB lang. So, since joint na siya, it involves three quantities. So, dudugtong mo na lang yung another quantity. So, that's why we come up with A is equal to KBH. So, ganun din kapag kinuha natin yung another translation in terms of K. So, kung ano yung unang binanggit na quantity, ayun nasa numerator, tapos yung dalawang huling binanggit, ayun yung nasa denominator part. So, that will come up with K is equal to A over BH. Then, with the help of applying the second step, so we are now going to make use of the second form equation, which is K is equal to A over BH. So, ano gagamitin natin dyan? Sabi natin yung complete value na binigay in the problem. Ano ba yung complete value na yon? So, yung base daw ay 8 and a height of 9 centimeters, base of 8 centimeters and a height of 9 centimeters with an area of 36 square centimeters. So, may given tayong isang triangle doon sa madaling salita na ang base ay 8, ang height ay 9, and ang area ay 36 square centimeters. So, that is to be used for us to find out for the value of K. So, substitute lang natin mga given na yan. A is 36 over B is 8 while H is 9. And again, we can make use of cancellation there. Or we can also make use of direct multiplication. So, pwedeng 36 over 8 times 9 is 72. 36 over 72, na pwede pa rin natin ma-reduce into lowest term. Or, pwede natin cancellation, 36 and 9. Both are divisible by 9. Or exactly 36 is exactly divisible by 9. So, matitira dito ay 4. And 4 over 8 na lang. 4 over 8 can still be reduced into lowest term as 1 half. Because 4 and 8 are exactly divisible by 4. So, the value of K there is equal to 1 half. So since we do have the value of K, so we can now come up with the equation of variation. So just simply substitute that 1 half to A is equal to KBH, which is the first form equation. Ito yon, the first form equation. So, gagamitin natin yon in order for us to find out for the equation of variation. So, if we're going to substitute it, it will be A is equal to BH over 2. So, baka may nagtataka, naging BH over 2? Again, BH here is a numerator. Ang denominator niya ay 1. So, since ang K mo is 1 half, so ang numerator niya ay 1. So, since magiging yung 1 ay magiging numerical coefficient, usually, 1 is hindi na natin sinusulat. So, it's already understood kapag kapag wala siyang numerical coefficient rather, na ang ibig sabihin nun, ang numerical coefficient niya ay 1. Or kapag wala ka nakitang numerical coefficient in a given variable, ibig sabihin ang numerical coefficient niya ay 1. And still 2 is on the denominator part. So that's why yung 2 mo is also on the denominator part. So we come up with the equation of variation as A is equal to BH over 2. And last, so let us now answer what is asked in the problem. So using the new form equation na A is equal to BH over 2, sabi doon, find A. Ano ba yung A? That is the area. Find A when A or the area when the base is 10 and the height is 7. So what would be the area? So since it was already equated into A, so let's find out for, let's just simply substitute that value of B and H in the new form equation. So we'll have A is equal to 10 times 7 over 2. And 10 is exactly divisible by 2. So matitira dito ay 5 magiging times 7. So 5 times 7 is equal to 35. So since we are pertaining to the area of the triangle, so, and the unit of measurement involved there is in terms of centimeters, and we are pertaining to the area, the unit of measurement when the area is involved should be in terms of square units. So since it's in terms of centimeters, so the unit of measurement should be in terms of square centimeters. So therefore, the area of a triangle whose base is 10 and height is 7 is equal to 35 square centimeters. So you should not forget that unit of measurement. And again, it's because you are answering a verbal problem in math or problems in math which are written in words, which involves variation this time. So that's how we answer example number 4. Any questions? So hopefully, naintindihan nyo na on how to answer uh, problems which involves variation. So it's just as simple as you are solving any kinds of variation. So paano mo sinusolve yung variation na pinag-aralan natin, that's also how are you going to solve verbal problems in math which also involves variation. And still, ganito pa rin yung tinatawag nating word na life that always reminds us that we have to take good care of our life always. So that would be all